Hello, everybody. Hope all of you are doing good today. Now, what does WHO define health as? WHO defined health as a state of mental, physical, and social well being, and just not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And mental health as a well being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her own community. But if you're going through poor mental health, and you might find the ways you're thinking, feeling, or even reacting becoming difficult and different or even impossible to cope with in life, this can just be as bad as physical health, an injury to your muscle, a bruise, or anything else, or even worse. I am Fiza Taj, a physiotherapist and co founder of Relive Physiotherapy and Wellness Clinic. And today I'm in conversation with my two co panelists, Garima Gupta, who's a founder of Swasth Yoga Institute, and Shruti Sanganaria, who is a clinical hypnotherapist and a psychotherapist. So I will be joining them in my conversation right now. Hi, Garima.
Hi, Fiza.
How are you doing today? Hi, Shruti. How are you doing today?
Hi, Fazad. Very well, thank you. Hi, Garima. How are you guys doing?
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for this.
So, Garima, can you give us a quick introduction about yourself?
Sure. So I'm trained in yoga, life coaching, nutrition, management, and engineering. And I combine all of these at an institute that I run, which is called Swasth Yoga Institute. It's an action research institute, and we do two things. One is that we provide integrated care health services, which combine the wisdom of the East with the science of the West. And we also train professionals to deliver these services.
Lovely. And what about Shruti? Can you tell us something about yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Vita. So I'm a clinical therapist, psychotherapist, and a personal transformation coach. Now, what does that mean? What do I do? So I work mostly with women, assisting them, helping them in attaining freedom from their inner stops, from their past stories, and from their traumas, such that they can step into their confidence, into their power, and live a life that they truly desire, being unstoppable. That's what I do.
Lovely. That sounds really nice. So, Garima, to start with you, being in the pandemic and being in the front line, what has that taught you? What have you really
Sure.
seen?
So I think our learnings have primarily been based on two things. One is primary healthcare services that we have provided through the lockdown without a single day of our 20 odd clinics being shut. And we've served 50,000 odd patients since the start of the pandemic. And the second being around 4 lakh health education engagements that we have done through various forums, workshops in person, on the ground, in the communities, and also on social media. So through a combination of providing services as well as providing health education, I would say I think the learning has essentially the summary of that would be to not surrender our inner power to fear, but to actually claim back our power through, I would say, two things. One is awareness of the right information, getting the right facts. And secondly, understanding our own self-healing powers. I think these two things have been the primary sort of learnings. And if I was to just elaborate on that, the right information is that COVID is infectious. Yes, it's infectious. And that's why we need to take precautions. But we don't need to panic because the mortality rate is not very high. Actually, the risk is far less compared to many other risks that we're living with on a daily basis. And that's one. Just setting the right context as we look at COVID around us. And the second being, even if one gets COVID, it's not the end of the world.
True.
We have the inherent resources to recover from it, and 99% chances are that you will survive it. I mean, that's what the facts are saying. So these two things have been the biggest learnings to claim our power.
Okay, that makes complete sense. And Shruti, so COVID, do you think has impacted our lives, and how has it impacted? Like, say, suddenly overnight, all of us have faced this challenge, right? We've just sat at home. There's no space. Home has become like a place where everything is happening. It's like a place where work is happening, rest is happening, schooling is happening, and suddenly our homes feel small, and we don't know where to go because it was something different. Now the definition of home is completely changed. Can you please elaborate on that?
Okay, so what is your inherent question in this?
So the thing is, like, how can one maintain calm and handle the entire situation? Because sometimes we're panicking, we don't know, we have an urgent call, and sometimes there are space issues, and everybody wants to stay in the same space, and then the school online class is happening. How does one multitask, or at the same time remain calm, understanding, okay, that this is the space for rest, this is the space for rejuvenation, this is the space of for studies or whatever it is. Like, how do one segregate that and be okay with all that?
Thanks for that, Fiza. So you're absolutely right. So let's first of all acknowledge that there has been a challenge with this shift from working in our respective workplaces to working from home, studying, schooling from home. So there has been a challenge with physical space, with being in our personal spaces. So having acknowledged that, what would really help families, people staying together, would be to recognize their personal needs. It's an adaptation which we were not accustomed to before. So, first of all, understanding our personal needs, needs of children, needs of us adults, and attending to those needs. Now, what do I mean by the needs? So, first of all, there could be a need for physical space. As you said, there are people now, working from home, taking calls from home. So that physical space is a need for everybody. Now, the house could be small, could be big, one room, three rooms, however it is, to now demarcate certain areas which would fulfill that need for space. And it's not only a physical space for work, it is also a space for one's own privacy, one's own personal need. One thing which was very important for every human being before pandemic, and all the more essential during the pandemic, is the me time, to really spend some quality time with oneself. If people are caregivers, are taking care of each other, taking care of children, elderly, they're constantly in a mode of providing for others and probably
True.
neglect. And it's like going on an overdraft, like drawing from the bank again and again, and then not putting in. So as long as we are putting in also, then there is a balance. So attending to our needs is very essential, and identifying what needs. That is one, and then respecting each other's needs.
True,
So
because
that's
now, the home has become a place for everybody together. So we're dealing with so many more emotions, so many more people, and different personalities and identities.
yeah. Earlier, it was like going to our different physical spaces, like school, other people going to their workplaces. So they were not really being with each other 24 by 7. So many things were by default handled. But now it
Right.
is a conscious effort, no doubt. So it will iron out if, with a few practices, few conscious efforts, it will iron out, and people can adapt to the space that they have currently, and the activities that they need to do.
Right. Thank you for that. So, Garima, are you with us? Are you able to hear? Okay. Going to the next thought, does faith really help when it comes to being anxious, being lonely, feeling sad? When it comes to, these words have become like a common household thing now. You feel sad, you're depressed. There is a little bit of mass hysteria also with there. Do you think somewhere, focusing on faith or getting back to taking faith as one of the tools, would that help?
Yeah. So before I answer that question, I would take a step back and look at faith. So faith is different for many people. Faith is something which allows a person to go within and to center ourselves and connect with what we call our higher power, God, or whatever we believe in. So our faith in that power. And so now to answer your question, uh, does faith help? Yes, because when we are going within and connecting with that higher power, we are creating a inner environment of safety and security. And when we have that safety and security, then we are centered, and it helps in being calm, peaceful. And essentially, like Garima said, that the the anxiety in COVID is coming from fear. Fear is the absence of feeling safe. It is feeling fundamentally feeling threatened, so the survival feeling threatened. So when we tap into our belief system, our spiritual belief system, so the faith that you're talking about, when we tap into that, we connect with that higher power and find that safety and security within. So yes, it helps tremendously and it goes a long way.
So it is that safe place inside of you that you can actually explore when it comes to faith. Okay. Garima, I lost you, in the middle. So I wanted to ask this question to you. Like, see, textbook words like anxiety, loneliness, depression, and, harmful suicidal thoughts, and seems to become like, a topic of discussion in all households. I mean, everybody's been discussing on that. We see so much of social media showing that. We see people are being depressed, and so many of us, like I know friends and family and so many of my clients and patients who also get affected by this negative news. Okay, so how can one cut off and be more mindful about it and yet be rational, and at the same time, what are the risk factors and how can one tone these thoughts? What do you think one can do just to cut off and at the same time be sane? Like, how much is just enough?
Yeah, I think you said it in terms of like, it's our choice around just cutting off. And unfortunately, the thing with whether it's fear, paranoia, hysteria, all of these are vicious cycles. They just build, and before you get to know it, one gets sucked into a whirlpool. And so I think just stepping back and that constant awareness of, yes, for example, if I'm watching news from the point of view of awareness, that's one level. But when I get stuck in any obsessive pattern, if I'm continuously tracking the number of cases, continuously obsessed about certain things, those are flags that, if someone has gotten into repetitive, vicious cycles, that is a flag to sort of stop, firstly. Mm-hmm. And then to, again, like Shruti said, understand where is that coming from? What we're feeling right now is because the fear is coming from that sense of powerlessness. Right? That I can't do anything about it. It's come to my neighbor and it might just come to me and then I can't do anything about it. And that's where that right information also really helps. The fact is that our body is designed for health. It's not designed for, every cell of your body is working to keep you healthy. When you get a fracture, the bone repairs itself. If you have blood loss, like the blood has replenishing power, and that's the case with COVID also. So even if we do get it, the more we delve on what if, we're likely to actually manifest that and make that a reality.
Yeah.
And so it's moving from a vicious cycle, I would say, to a virtuous sort of cycle.
Right. Completely makes sense. It's like, our body and mind put together really has those healing powers. And we really have to look inside, look at ourselves from maybe an outside perspective and see what is exactly you who's doing at that point of time and doing that situation. Very true. Going to the next one, we know and we have been told often that the power is within us, like the way you said. We are in control of ourselves, yes, of course, like the way again you said. How can we empower that, Garima? How can we empower or bring out that power within us?
Right. So I think what Shruti was also talking about, just that harmony within ourselves, that alignment within ourselves is really important. And so actually, even if you look at the definition of swast, the Sanskrit word for health, it actually means swa plus tha, to be established in oneself. And who am I? I'm my body, my breath, my mind, my spirit. And these four are the resources that we actually have. We don't need to look outside externally. Yes, external support obviously is helpful, but actually each of these four is tools that we've been given for transformation. So I know, for example, that you do a lot of work and have been supporting with people with movements, right? So how does movement support you to get out of the cycles that are going on in the mind?
It's repeated
Something as
training of the
simple as
brain, right?
exactly something as simple as taking your attention to your breath. Right now, observing what is the state of my breath. It takes me away, it breaks that pattern. It brings me back to the present moment so that I can see it for what it is and not an imagined version of what it can be or again stuck in the past. So I'd say working with these, actually cultivating practices with the body, some movement, some relaxation, eating healthy, working with your breath, and working and having practices like faith, like Shruti said, that's just so, so important. So cultivating faith also.
Like there's this very good saying that just practice the rule of 3-3-3, which says move three joints in the body. It could be your ankle, it could be just your wrist and your shoulder, and then you pinch yourself. It's equivalent to pinching yourself, saying that you're present here, you're not there. So yeah, being mindful about where you are right now and being in control of your mind, I guess. Right. So now to Shruti, what is the importance of mental health and hygiene for women being a multitasker? We've already been multitasking all over the place, now everybody is at home. So how do we take care of that? And do you think it's important for one to
Absolutely.
take care?
Very important, Fizal. So when you say mental hygiene, by mental hygiene is maintaining that basic level of functionality and being a state of harmony. Again, I would come back to
True.
that state of harmony. And for women especially, as they are the nurturers and they are in they play multiple roles. They are caregivers for young, for the old, running a household, working at an organization or running their own business. They are wearing different hats and they are constantly providing and giving in those areas. So taking care again of their needs will again stem from their the mental emotional well-being. They are working, then they'll be working at their optimum. I would say it's as good as charging your mobile. When the
True.
battery is drained out, you charge
Yeah.
your mobile.
Yeah.
So it's important for the woman or for anybody for that matter to maintain their mental hygiene and to charge themselves. And like Garima said, certain practices, certain very simple practices which really boost our system or reboot our system.
Right. And all of us, like, as women, like we are guilty of being guilty most of the time. We leave our kids and then you're like, okay, fine, I'm, here working. And then I suddenly feel that I have to go back. Although we are in the same room and similar environment, we get guilty that we're not there because we're at home, but yet we're not spending time with our kids or we're not cooking, we're not doing this. And, how does one kind of handle, because I think women feel that a lot more often when compared to men or, other people in the house. So, that was my perspective, but what do you think on that?
An excellent question, Fiza. First, let's look at what is guilt. So, guilt is actually when we feel, or let's say I feel, I'm doing something much against my value system, or I'm doing something against my own belief system. I would go into a guilt trip. So, I'll take a very simple, funny example. Eating chocolates, right? Many times we feel guilty
Proven
eating
guilty
chocolate.
of that.
So, but then it's like, no, you shouldn't be eating this. So what is happening? My belief system and my value system inside is telling me you shouldn't be eating this, and then I'm eating it. So then I go on a guilt trip, right?
Right.
So why women go through guilt, for instance? She's in her office. Oh, I should be with my children right now. So she's going through that guilt because her belief system is that time is that I should be with my children, but her action is that she's in office. Now when she's back home with her children, I should be doing something with my life.
True. That's
And
true.
and here I'm just being a homemaker or I'm just being a mother right now. Like how we minimize and discount what we are doing. So
True.
there again going on a guilt trip because I want to be at work. I want to do something for myself. So that constant guilt does play out, and I just want to decode it for everybody that it is a action against our own belief systems. Having said that, how do we handle it? One is to recognize it, plus to be in the here and now. When you are at work, you be there fully, because then you are neither here nor there. So being there fully, right, and acknowledging this, yes, we are wearing multiple hats, and we are doing, different tasks. So to be in the here and now, and to have that sorted for ourselves, the children are taken care of, we are there when we are there, and be 100% with the children, and 100% with our work. If we are cooking, be 100% with the cooking. So that's one way of bringing ourselves back to our centeredness, and to be in alignment with what we want, what we think, and our actions, and how we feel.
So just not be there physically, but also please be there mentally.
Absolutely. So it's like mindfully doing things.
Everything else will wait. So if I'm here talking to you, I should not be thinking about anything else. Just mindfully enjoy what you're doing, right? And I mean, at the end of the day, you're choosing to do something, whatever you're doing at that point of time, and you just enjoy that. Right, makes complete sense. So Garima, if say symptoms of COVID show up in one of us, and then the first thing is that you start getting scared, and the panic sets in, then there's so much anxiety that comes up. So how can one be optimistic while being realistic and factual? And how can the patient and the caretaker maintain calm and act mindfully?
Yeah. I think the first step, and I've seen this a lot with people, is when we have symptoms, people don't even get tested. They wait for days, and sometimes I've heard of weeks to get tested.
True.
And again, it's like, again, we're getting the symptoms of COVID are like similar to symptoms of so many other diseases, right? So the first step is again to ground ourselves in the right information. Get your test done, get that information out. Then to recognize that there are several, Western science has done a fantastic job of actually figuring out lots of different simple treatments that are working. So there is external support to get from your doctor, from your family, friends. So rely on your external support factors also. And then to work towards self-healing. Once you've taken the necessary external action, now to bring it back to our own internal resources. And there again, I think the question is, what does one choose to focus on?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm having those symptoms, I can think of the 1% chance that I'm not going to make it, or the 99% chances, and again, as the facts are saying, that the 99% chances are that you're going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this point is very important, because it said that your life energy flows wherever your focus and your attention goes. So Shruti was talking of, right, being in the present moment. Yeah. So where do you take your energy? To the 99% or the 1%? And taking it on the 99%, then you can take actions towards that. Take support from people. Take your own internal practices. So relaxation is really, really important. Cultivating that good relationship with our breath is important. Taking again the right food. Very simple things. You don't need to do anything complicated. Only 3 to 4% of the cases in India have needed hospitalization. And again, it's very different from the images that we're seeing on TV. That gives the impression that if you have COVID, then you're not going to make it. So it's just important to bring us back to those core facts.
True. Like you said, take enough information from what is required from media, and then do not get into or dwell into things that are not required. Be mindful there too. Again, I guess the core is being mindful and taking care of your body mentally, and getting in connect with your emotions is extremely important, and stabilizing them. Now, Shruti, the question is to you. How to let go? I mean, sometimes you're really holding on to so many things. We don't know how to let go. Like I have work, and I have to go to my kid, or I'm not going to let go of letting my kid being with the grandparent or with the father or a friend or whatever it is. We tend to hold on to so many things. That's one of the examples. If you can give us some affirmations that can tell us ourselves every day or during the times of calamities like in this pandemic, and also how teaching ourselves how to sometimes meaningfully let go of things that may not be required for our body.
Got it. So, as I understand from your question, Fiza, first of all, what we say out loud or in our mind has a lot of power. It converts into reality. So our thoughts do convert into reality, as many of us may have heard all around, that our words and thoughts to reality. What does that mean? So even with whatever we are saying, these are all affirmations or affirming. We are affirming whatever is coming out of our mouth. Now,
very well said.
Yeah. So it is. It can be either favorable or not favorable. I don't want to use the word negative, or positive. It can either be serving me or not serving me. I could be saying that I don't want to do this, or I don't want my child to be with his grandfather. I could be saying that. Or I could be just saying that I want to have a good time with my son. I want to spend quality time with my son, just flipping that. So is what words we are choosing, and that is what makes an affirmation. And when it comes to our awareness and when we are conscious about it, we can craft it the way we want. Having said that, now what affirmations that would help us on a daily basis with respect to a body? One can say, if someone is really dealing with any kind of ailment or discomfort, I'm getting better and better every moment. One that is affirming that my body heals, my body has the wisdom to heal, and I'm getting better and better every moment. So, so it is actually, affirmations are very personal, and whatever a person is going through in mentally or verbally, if the person just pauses and notices what the person is saying and can flip it, and will immediately feel the difference, the energy of what the person is languaging will impact the person immediately. So if you could give me a situation, then maybe I could also give another example of an affirmation.
No, very well said. I think affirmations are something that you need to create for yourself, not by just looking at Google and you picked up affirmations that may not suit you, because everybody's lives are different, identities are different. So what you think and what you talk is power. So think and talk what you really want in life is what you're trying to say, right? And where you really want to be. And be okay with that, because some of us are not okay with that, because we have our upbringing differently. It could be religious beliefs, it could be ethical issues, it could be the way parenting has been taught to us. Like we always say that I have to always follow my parent, or if I'm parenting my child, or maybe some issues that may be deep down. So going back to that question, now how can one be also dealing with deep rooted issues? Okay, fine. So we'll go to that a little later. Sorry. One question that you asked me was, give me an example. Say, a person very close in contact, or if I'm the caregiver and one of the first core family member has fallen ill, then I'm extremely anxious. So I don't know what to do. And suddenly I see that most of them in the house are also falling ill. I mean, this is a case of one of my clients, which really happened. And she was the only woman who was having no symptoms, and she was never in the center of attention in her house, or she's never taken decisions for anybody. Then she's like, okay, I'm panicking, I don't know what to do, how do I take care, I mean, where should I step in, what? So she's lost. So in that place, how can one kind of affirm to oneself that you are okay and you can yet be it?
So what's coming up right now for me, intuitively, as I'm listening to you, is like, I'm supported and protected by the higher power, and I take care of my needs while I take care of other people's needs.
Right.
I make
Reinforcing that, I think.
Sorry.
Reinforcing that again and again to oneself.
I make the right decision, and my actions serve me and others.
So there's a few things that you can tell yourself.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No, so these are the things that one can tell themselves.
Yes. The tip I would give everyone towards affirmations is to just notice what you're saying, and then to flip it towards what you want. Okay, what we usually speak about what we don't want.
True.
Again, where our focus goes, energy flows, and wherever the energy flows, it expands, it grows. So to just look at, okay, very good that you know that what you don't want. Now, so what do you want? So then focusing towards what you want, and then making your affirmation around that. So what I said right now, given what I heard from you, the person going through anxiety and looking after others and things like that, I just flipped it, that I'm supported. Anxiety comes from fear, so I'm supported and I'm protected. I make decisions and my actions serve me. I take care of my needs and others' needs. So I've just moved to what the person may want and away from what the person doesn't want.
Right.
and the
Very well
energy shift.
said. True. Very true. No, giving my own example, I was just, trying to say something. I was just trying to remember something, and I said, "Do not say this. Do not say this. Do not say this." But then all I remembered was, "Say this. Say this. Say this." I'm like, "Oh my God, no! Let me flip it." Okay, and I said, "Okay, call it this. Call it this. Call it this." And then I realized that whatever I was saying, that call it so and so, I remembered better than saying, "Do not. Do not. Do not." Because if I said "do not," that was coming back to me.
Right.
So
Fiza, I'd like to build on that since we are just stressing on do not. Our brain does not comprehend not. Like when we tell children, don't jump on the bed, and they
true.
jump on. We are focusing on what we don't want, and we're telling the children, don't jump on the bed. Instead, if we say, sit on the bed or sit down, if we move towards what the result we want, the child will sit. Okay, we're talking about a child. How about an adult? Don't walk on the wet road. And people do walk on the wet pavement or the wet floor. That don't walk on the wet floor. Instead, if they say, walk that side, or walk on the floor is wet, walk the other side, it will make sense because the brain is then comprehending what to do. The not part doesn't register. In the,
No, very
in
true.
the
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, it's the case with us also. I mean, as adults or kids, the moment somebody says no, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then,
Don't eat the chocolates.
yeah, I'm like, don't eat. I'm like, oh, I want the chocolate more now. I want that sinful ice cream badly in the night. So, yes, the sinful, stuff, indulgence, and everything else. So, now going back to Garima. See, the socialization, of course, plays an important role in kids, right? In the development and the primary growth factors. And now suddenly that's banned during the pandemic for obvious reasons. Kids seem to be truly affected and seem anxious, okay? Because I've been seeing that. I've had clients who've been facing that. I've been having moms saying that my kids seem very anxious to even talk or, meet a friend. So how can one take care of this? So what would you throw light on this?
Yeah. I think firstly, I feel it's very unfortunate that the term social distancing is being used.
Yeah.
It's actually just physical distancing. Physical distancing may not imply social distancing. We can still be connected to each other just like we are right now. I think again, it's, just giving energy to that word social distancing has somehow in our minds created this thing that we don't have access to each other. We do. I mean, we do. All of us have managed to continue our work through the pandemic. So I think that's just one thing I'd like to place in that context when we look at it. When it comes to children, I think particularly what I would say to a parent based on whatever I have seen in working with children and largely with parents is that actually it's not the energy of the child as much as it's the energy of the parent that impacts the child. Children, by nature, are playful, joyful. They don't even need a lot of things to entertain themselves. Like you give them a spoon, a katori, a glass, and they'll that's enough for them, to entertain themselves for a couple of hours. So it's actually what happens is they end up soaking our energy a lot as parents. It's our anxiety for them, the guilt perhaps that you were referring to that a mother might feel, also it's all of those emotions within us that the child ends up soaking in, and that can also lead to oftentimes a lot of the no's that are being talked about, right? Don't do this to a child.
Yeah.
But again, how can we support them? What is it that the child can do? And I think in this time, to support the child, what a parent can do is to actually cultivate that joyfulness within their own selves.
Very true.
How much time as parents do we actually take out for our joy? And the child is seeing that, day in and day out. So creating those spaces, those boundaries that we're talking of, and nurturing our joy, nurturing things that give us joy, our children seeing that is actually going to take that away. I understand that yes, it's hard, particularly because we're not getting to physically interact with each other. But there are connections that can be forged beyond physicality. I mean, you and I have never met, but here we are, we're connected, and we're talking, and it's going smoothly. So I think also seeing things beyond physicality.
No, absolutely. I really love the way you put it across, and I agree completely. I mean, this is something that I knew I learned from you, that just rephrasing something. It may not be social distancing, but just, distancing physically, like the way you said, and you're yet connected to that person. And it's so true. I mean, kids are truly inherently very happy human beings. We really need to learn from them. They're so joyful. Even little things bring in so much joy. And I think it's very unfair for us to take away that little joy from them. We need to really look into ourselves, get that joy from within us, maybe something that could be deep rooted. And, whatever it is, get that out and get in touch with who we really are. So that brings me back to the next question to you, that is Shruti. So if there are quite a few deep-rooted issues that we've been facing, maybe about our parental ethics or about, something that has gone bad in the past, we're not happy with what's happening in our lives. Of course, that can get amplified with the anxiety and with so many things happening in the pandemic, right? How do you think one can take care of that and let go? And some issues that maybe we faced in the past or we're not happy with. And sometimes that this is something that I know maybe is there in my DNA. Like example, I get very angry. Okay, maybe I've got it from my mom or my dad. How can I control that? I can't just blame my parents saying that, okay, this has come from them, so I'm going to continue doing that. No. How can one take control of that and slowly get rid of it?
Yeah. Thanks for that question, Fiza. It's a beautiful question. So let's look at when you say deep rooted. If we just imagine a tree, right? And so there are the roots which are underground, which is not visible. We see the tree above the ground, we see the trunk, we see the branches and the leaves and the fruits and the flowers. So most of the times we are reacting to the branches and the leaves and the fruits and the flowers in our life. We are not really looking at the roots because they are under the ground and we cannot see it. So to address those deep-rooted issues, so the example that you're giving, anger with parents, now the immediate band-aid solution could come by addressing the fruits and the flowers and the leaves and the branches which are visible. But actually it's deep-rooted, it's underground. When you heal or work with the roots, the fruits will change. When the roots grow or the roots strengthen, the fruits and the flowers and the leaves strengthen. So to address the deep-rooted issues is first to recognize the deep-rooted issues. And in most cases, what helps is to go to a professional who is trained in addressing those deep-rooted issues, first identifying where the issues come from. So asking someone to do this on a daily basis or on their own would be, not advisable because they may not be able to get there. Over time, if they are constantly looking at it, maybe over time they might be able to uncover it. But I would highly recommend going to a professional for that.
Yeah, and also some things are so hurtful that one cannot really handle it on themselves, everything, right? So you need a doctor for a broken bone or a physiotherapist for, a painful muscle. You definitely need a psychologist or a therapist to just heal your mind. And honestly, to all our viewers and everybody who's watching, there is no shame in seeking mental health. I think the most abused and the most, avoided talk is about mental health. Oh, you've gone psychotic. Fine. Are you going to go to a psychologist? Are you going to go to a... It's really been demeaned, and it's unfortunate because it's like you got a cold, you got a cough, you take medicine, right? I mean, you've got fever, you have to bring it down. You are taking that medication. So why not cater to health, like, mental health? What is such a taboo that is stuck onto this, mental health word? So yes, I will be sharing your, both of your info into our description. So if at all anybody needs help, can always reach out to you people, and you all are there, and we all are there to help you. The last thing, Shruti and so Karima, okay, let me, no, we'll go back to Shruti first. Now, give us a few tips to how to be emotionally fit. Like, we're almost coming to the end of the conversation now. Like some giveaway dumbbell workouts for the mind. Of course, both of you can give us a tip on that. Like, how can we just work that mind out? Right?
So emotional fitness, right? So since you're using the phrase emotional fitness, I'd like to draw the analogy with the physical fitness. We work towards our physical fitness when we recognize that maybe we are not physically fit, or maybe this arm needs strengthening, or my knees need strengthening, or my legs need strengthening. So similarly, in emotional fitness, first of all, acknowledging our emotions, that there are certain emotions coming up. So the way to emotional fitness is to acknowledge our emotions, to be with them, and to allow them to surface. Many a times we just suppress them and just push them aside because it feels unpleasant, it feels uncomfortable.
Very true.
Emotion is like energy in motion. The word emotion, emotion, it's energy in motion. So if we are suppressing it, we're not allowing it to move, we're not allowing it to flow, it's getting trapped within. And trapped emotions lead to diseases and physical ailments.
Yes.
So letting those emotions flow in a safe space, in a private space, letting those emotions flow. When they flow out. When we are being with them, we are allowing them, we're letting them flow out. And when we are letting them flow out, we are creating space for new feelings, for new emotions. So that's one way of handling emotions, and that is a highly recommendable way of feeling through the emotions. Having said that, on a daily basis, having certain practices which will augment and form a support system to stay centered, to stay calm, and to be able to support oneself when the emotions are up and down. So one great practice is, if you notice, our breathing changes when we experience different emotions. When we are excited, a certain way. When we are sad, we breathe a certain way. So the breath is the first place which gets impacted. And hence we tell people, take a deep breath, right? Because a deep breath immediately centers us. So to focus on our breathing, having a breathing practice, the Indian yogic system has such a beautiful system of breathing practices, the pranayam and the other breathing practices. One could bring some of it, if not all of it, into daily practice. That's one. And something which Garima really has come up with, and she taught me as well, is to have 5 minutes of joy, a practice of five minutes of joy, just 5 minutes of joy on a daily basis. Something that gives one joy. Anything, it could be dancing, it could be music, it could be painting, or walk in nature. Whatever helps the person, minimum 5 minutes as a must on a daily basis. And that 5 minutes, those 5 minutes go a long way. So having said these two, and earlier in the conversation we discussed the faith. So tuning in with that faith, and again spending just few minutes in the day with that higher power, or that centered, that inner space which we connect with all the time, spending some time with that, and surrounding ourselves with beautiful, positive people. Many a times, the naysayers really affect us. So when there are people who are our cheerleaders, are encouraging us, are positive, that really takes our energy to a whole new level.
Very true. Now, very well said, because we've always been practicing, like, write a gratitude book or maintain a gratitude book. Just think about things that are gratitude, you're grateful of. That's one thing, of course, like, we all know of, but then this 5 minutes of joy is enlightening. It's really good. It made me feel good. I think that's something that is a big takeaway for me, and I'm definitely going to practice that 5 minutes of joy. It's something that brings joy to me, and I'm truly happy about on every single day basis. Right. So, Garima, give us some nice, what is your, giveaway now that we're almost at the end of the conversation? Meanwhile, of course, the viewers, if you all have any questions, please feel free to ask. And while you ask questions, our co-panelist will tell us what is their giveaway to all the viewers today. What is like your big giveaway? I would like to take back a lot of things. I've already taken a lot of things from this.
I think I would just summarize by saying that once again, that we are designed for health. Right now, in this very moment, each of us has cancer cells within our body, and our body is dealing with it.
True.
We have up to 10 times the number of microbes, bacteria, virus, fungi than human cells in all of us right now. We have 300 trillion of those cells, and we're dealing with it. We're living in harmony with it. So I think that what I would say is to not is to take precautions, to be careful, but not to be panic, not to be in a state of panic, and instead to cultivate that freedom within ourselves to be truly who we are, through joy, through peace, through love. So if I was to say, so the way we summarize this, we have an acronym for this, which is saying, who am I when I'm truly aligned with myself? I'm free to be me. And B stands for body, E stands for your energy system, M stands for your mind, and E stands for your emotions. And each of those four are tools within themselves. If we work with them with harmony, health is not something that we need to worry about. It is going to be a natural outcome.
Definitely. I think harmony is the key word to take. You just be in harmony with your mind, body, and soul, and things will fall in place. And it's about what you think is what you're going to do and what you're going to talk. So think what you're going to think, right? And mend it that in a way that works for you. And Shruti, anything that you would like to summarize us up with?
Absolutely. What's, intuitively coming up is, while we experience many emotions, there are fundamentally two emotions. One is love and one is fear. To just notice, where is one operating from? Am I coming from love, moving towards love, or am I coming from fear and moving towards fear? So am I standing in love or am I standing in fear? And that would give a person the way forward.
Very true. Very good. It's been a wonderful conversation with both of you. I did not even realize that we've gone way past our time, and it's so deep. It's so beautiful. You learn so much, when you talk to each other, when you converse. And Garima, I hardly know you, but then, like you said, the distance of not knowing each other did not matter, because we came up here for a common cause to bring in that mental awareness in people and to create that kind of awareness, to create that help being at home and how to take control of oneself and one's emotions. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you, Garima. Thank you, Shruti. We end here now. See you guys. Stay home.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Thank you, Pizza. Thanks, Garima. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
It's been lovely having both of you. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching us today.